to have some highly qualified and experienced panelists today for this webinar. And I am expecting that everybody, all the participants, will learn a lot from the webinar, and you will also be given opportunity to ask your questions and try to understand the impact of climate change on early childhood development. So without taking much time, I would like to request Badr, the program officer of SUN Secretariat, to introduce to share a brief background of the webinar and also introduce the worthy panelists and also share ground rules for today's webinar. Thank you, Badr. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Khadija. So as you mentioned, already we are grateful to the panelists for their availability on this important topic. So we have representation at a very senior level from the government, from the UN, and from the development sector. Just to briefly tell you about the theme, why the theme has been selected. We all know there may be no greater growing threat facing the world's children and their children than climate change. And climate change is disproportionately impacts the poorest, deepening existing inequities, which we already have. Almost 160 million children live in areas of high or extremely high drought severity. So this also makes it more important to focus in this area. And it affects children in different ways, both directly and indirectly. For example, by negatively impacting food security, which results in increased burden of child malnutrition. And in Pakistan, you all know that we already have triple burden of malnutrition. It causes migration that results school dropout and livelihood issues. This is also one of the angles that we need to look into it. Causes air pollution, posing greater threat to the health and well-being of children. Then increased temperature resulting conducive environment for the transmission of different diseases. So there are a number of other direct and indirect issues, and the honorable panelists will give more insights on the subject. Just few important information to note before I request the honorable panelists for their presentations. Each panelist will have 15 to 20 minutes for presentation. We will have discussion after the presentations completed. So once all the three presentations completed, we will have ample time for discussion. Hence, please note down your questions or drop in the chat box. Mention who to respond and raise your hand. We will try to address all the questions. As I mentioned earlier, we have time. So please ask as much as you can. With this, I will be requesting our first panelist. Let me briefly introduce Mr. Antane Germa. Thank you, Antane, for joining us. He is the Chief Nutrition for UNICEF in Pakistan. He is a public health and nutrition expert with over 15 years of progressive working experience in Africa, including Ethiopia, South Sudan, Zambia, and at continental level working for the African Leaders for Nutrition Initiative under the African Development Banks and in Asian countries like Nepal and Pakistan. So may I request Mr. Antane for presentation? And also, Antane, please let us know if you want us to upload or if you can upload your presentation by yourself.
Thanks, Badar. Either way is easier. If you share the screen for me, that would be even much easier. Until you upload, maybe.
Mavish, may I request you to upload if possible?
Yes, I think it is going through. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you put someone, yeah, good. Thanks. Dr. Hamid Jalil, Mr. Izar Hanzai, Khadija, Badar, thanks for giving us the opportunity for UNICEF to speak to these thematic areas, climate change, early childhood development, which are very central and close to the work that UNICEF is doing globally and in Pakistan as well. A very good morning to all respected colleagues attending this webinar virtually. If we go to the second slide, the next slide, yeah, yes. So the webinar, which is the impact of climate change on early childhood development, is a very timely one, as Badar said. So I will start my presentation by reminding ourselves about the nurturing care. A care which refers to what a child needs to survive, thrive, and achieve their full potential. As we know, as per the nurturing care framework, which was developed in 2019 by UNICEF, World Bank, and WHO, together with other partners, this nurture every children requires these 5 interrelated and indivisible components of nurturing care. Which includes the good health, adequate nutrition, safety, security, responsive caregiving, and opportunities for early learning. These are an input for any child to attain the full potential to develop across their life cycle, particularly during the first years of life. Moving to the second slide, and if we see where we stand as a country, next slide, please. As a country in Pakistan, even though the data on the left chart, the left side of the slide is a bit older from 2019's ECD policy mapping. And if the indicators for Pakistan under health, nutrition, and security and safety component of the nurturing care shows we are a bit behind compared to other countries, even in the region. Plus the data from 2011, the Pakistan ECD country profile, still there is some improvement from 2019. Still we are much behind to what is expected in terms of fully achieving early childhood development indicators. Similar to other countries, there are indicators which are totally missing. So overall, regardless of some commitment, some progress at national level, there are a lot to be done around the nurturing care framework broadly, as well as the ECD, is early childhood development, thematic broader approach in terms of bringing children to their full potential. Next slide, please. So this is the conceptual framework for early childhood development, a bit smaller, not visible fully, but the one on the left shows the conceptual framework for early childhood development outcomes that depict various factors at immediate and underlying as well as macro levels. If we zoom out the macro causes, we'll find climate-related causes at higher level, issues related to air pollution, environment, and water as the center of the macro causes of early childhood development. So we can broadly agree that macro climate change is among the macro causes of early childhood development, even though we need more impact, more evidence to better understand the different pathways on how climate change specifically affects the different components of the nurturing care and subsequently affects the early childhood development. Next slide, please. So even though we need more evidence, particularly to better understand the different pathways on how specifically climate change affects early childhood development, there are ongoing researches that shows that the climate change, number one, can disrupt the nurturing care component in different pathways, one of which is it accelerates the spread of disease. These are diseases associated with, like includes infectious diseases, as well as diseases associated with air pollution. So this disrupts the system and contribute for poor health. It affects the water resource particularly, and this affects agriculture and livestock, and then directly affecting the different pillars of the food security. Food security, as we all know, it is a prerequisite for nutrition security, so that is inadequate nutrition is facilitated one way or the other. Climate change can also increase the severity and frequency of natural disasters, which leads to displacement, affecting security, safety, overall affecting infrastructure, leading to poor access to basic services. It can also increase inequalities and deprivation. There are ongoing studies, particularly with exposure to excess climate change and subsequent carbon dioxide. So excessive exposure to carbon dioxide is found to affect the nutrient content of some staple foods. So it is basically can also affect the contribute for health and nutrition. And there are also estimates that an estimated 26% of child mortality would have been prevented by addressing environmental risks. So taking all this into consideration, we can conclude how climate change, at least at broader level, impacts early childhood development by disrupting the different systems and affecting the poor health, affecting inadequate, leading to inadequate nutrition, unsafe environment, and overall cause a component of the nurturing care. So as we go along, maybe the next slide. So taking this into consideration, what UNICEF is doing in the country plus globally, besides to our normal 6 key programs, which include health, nutrition, education, WASH, child protection, and social protection, as well as social policy, early childhood development and climate change, and the DRR, disaster risk reduction across, plus adolescent development and participation are the cross-cutting thematic areas we are implementing in Pakistan as UNICEF. In the next slide, next slide. Yes, so on ECD, climate change, and there's ADAP, I didn't include it. On the ECD, we are working closely as cross-cutting team to all of our programs. We are closely working with the Ministry of Planning, particularly to institutionalize ECD framework in the country. This is through supporting the development of different national guidelines, including the policy framework, supporting capacity strengthening activities, as well as the scale-up of parenting package, which is a key practice to enhance uptake of key messages that enhance uptake of the nurturing care components that I mentioned earlier. With the climate change, we support some of the national initiatives to closely working with the Ministry of Climate Change, and some of the national level initiatives are closely supporting the government, includes the Clean and the Green Pakistan, the school wash, as well as the natural groundwater recharge in locations which are affected by groundwater level depletions. Also, climate risk assessment and subsequent development of frameworks that can minimize climate change and the disaster risk reduction activities. The school aspects, the WASH in school is also another strategies that we're working with Ministry of Climate Change, as well as schools and education throughout the country. As part of social policy, we advocate to strengthen climate change financing and child-centered climate change actions. We also support evidence generation, of course, working with not only with specific ministry, but with different stakeholders, national government, provincial government, as well as other stakeholders. And some of the recently completed evidence generation activities recommend some disaster risk reduction activities, which include implementation of early warning systems at scale, ensuring child-sensitive climate change financing and the like. So overall, the ECD and the climate change are two of the cross-cutting issues we are implementing along our 6 program areas. Next slide, please. So in summary, as I conclude, just as opening up for discussion from UNICEF, so we speak on behalf of children. We see climate change affecting the nurturing care and subsequently contributing for poor childhood development with some of the background information. But when we see the causes, the contributors, the role children plays in causing climate change is very low. So while children are the least responsible for climate change, but the impact of climate change on their ability to survive, grow, and thrive is huge. So as a key message takeaway is what we request, what we pledge is ECD should be part and parcel of climate change actions at national, provincial, and at all levels in order to minimize its impact on early childhood development. Again, we need more local evidence that can better inform the climate change and the ECD actions in the country. The reason I'm saying this is all those background information that I shared, particularly on the status of the country, on the nurturing care framework indicators are a bit, number one, older. Second, even we don't have indicators, current most recent indicators for some of data for some of the indicators. Plus the impact of climate change, for example, on the health system, on the food security system, on the different aspects of the nurturing care element are globals. So we need, taking the dynamicity of the country, the dynamicity of the provincial context in Pakistan, more local evidence is required. So those are our two key messages. Number one, making ECD central part of climate change actions. Number two, having more local evidence that better inform us in ECD and climate change actions. The next slide is more of a reference. I will stop there, Badar. Thanks a lot, and looking forward for the discussions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Antony, for a very comprehensive presentation and very effectively and clearly linking the role of and the impact of climate on the nurturing care components. And you rightly mentioned that it's cross-cutting across all the nurturing care components, whether it's health, it's education, it's safety, it's early learning. So it plays really important role. And your last message that ECG should be part of all the initiatives and planning of the climate. And I would say vice versa. I mean, it's really important. And globally, it gets great importance now. Climate is becoming more and more important sector for scaling up nutrition movement as well. They are playing more important role because of the strong links of climate change with food security and other factors that you mentioned. And even in Pakistan now, we are taking climate change as one of the important ministry sector of the multi-sectoral nutrition. So thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation. And now I'll be requesting our esteemed panelist, Mr. Izhar Hunzai. Let me briefly introduce him. His profile is very long, so I won't be able to mention everything here, but he's currently working as a policy advisor, head of Soni Jawari Center for Public Policy, Chief Minister's Secretariat, Gilgit-Baltistan. He has done his master's in international development from Cornell University. He held different high-level management and voluntary positions. I will mention few. As I mentioned, he has a very long list. He has been CEO of Khan Rule Support Program, Regional Coordinator for Asia and Africa, Global Water Partnership Sri Lanka, Senior Scientist with International Water Management Sri Lanka, CEO of Khan Culture Service. He is an independent consultant and worked for a number of bilateral agencies, UN agencies, and INGOs. What to you, Izhar Sahab? इजहार साहब आप म्यूट तो नहीं है, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
Yes, thank you, dear brother, for such a nice introduction, and grateful to senior colleagues, SUN Secretariat, PEFECT, UNICEF. I was listening very carefully to our colleague UNICEF Nutrition Chief's presentation, and it occurred to me that children in Pakistan are in the same boat. We have very little contribution to climate change impacts, but we are most affected from climate change impacts. As colleagues will know, Pakistan is among the top 5 or 6 most vulnerable countries to climate change impacts. Mavish, please, next slide, please. This is the situation. The data is a little bit old, but it gives us a very clear picture of where we stand. In the first column, A2 is business as usual scenario, is defined by IFCC, and it gives different scenarios for different regions of Pakistan in terms of the precipitation, changes in precipitation, and changes in temperature over the decades. And overall, under the current scenario, no change scenario, Pakistan will face an overall increase of 1.373 millimeter rain. And under the mixed scenario, where effective measures, some measures, if we take some measures in that scenario, in the mixed scenario, the precipitation will be less, 1.26. And if we are able to implement the measures that are necessary, then it will be a success story under B1 scenario, which is the most optimistic scenario. Similarly, with the temperatures, as you can see, the overall Pakistan's temperature projections are almost half a degree increase in the business as usual scenario, and 0.41 in the mixed scenario, and less in the other scenario, in 0.24 in the B1 most optimistic scenario. In the north, Gilgit-Baltistan, this is dramatically higher. Precipitation will go up by 4.6% under the current scenarios, and it will be slightly less in the mixed scenario, and 1.3 minus precipitation in the most optimistic scenario. Similarly, you can see on the screen, the most important point is that Pakistan is a single river country, and our survival depends on Indus River basin, and particularly the upper catchment of the Indus River basin, which includes the large catchment, which includes mountains, glaciers, and this is the most threatened scenario. Indus River provides water to the rest of Pakistan for its agriculture, for its industry, cities, and 72% of the flow, the runoff, is from glaciers. And these glaciers and permafrost are under severe pressure from climate change. And if the glaciers are reduced, the water flow to Pakistan will reduce correspondingly, which will create havoc in Pakistan's food security and ecological integrity. Pakistan's population currently is 220 to 30 million, and it's projected to be 300 million by 2035. And in that scenario, when we already are water stressed and food is a serious problem, we will come to that in the next slide. And then there's no solution, there's no alternative, there is no fallback. So we have to really focus as much as we can in reducing the most negative impacts of climate change. I will not go into the details of this, but it clearly shows, in terms of the precipitation, the highest most figure is plus 5.1 in southern Sindh, and as you can see, and the KPK region is 6.1, and similarly Gilgit-Baltistan northern areas is 4.6. That is the scenario. Next slide, please, Mavish. In terms of food systems, as we know, Pakistan, our food systems are really, that's another story. We are basically promoting 3 or 5 major crops, and 2 are the rice and the cotton are not mentioned, but wheat, rice, and sugar is not mentioned, but wheat, rice, and maize constitute the bulk of our food systems in Pakistan. And under the the projections are not very optimistic, not very helpful. As we can see already, by 2020 we were going in a negative territory in terms of our productivity. Wheat was -3, and it's projected to be -11 in 2050, and it's projected to be -27% productivity. And already we are facing huge problems in Pakistan. If we produce slightly about 26 million metric tons per year, which is just barely enough for the huge population. We are also in terms of because we are bordered with Afghanistan, and Pakistan have this trade. Most of it is informal trade, and so whatever happens in Afghanistan is also affecting Pakistan's productivity. Pakistan's productivity also affecting Afghanistan's food security. Rice also similar situation, maize similar situation. So the food security situation is not very encouraging. Next slide, please, Mavish. So generally speaking, the future projections of Pakistan's temperature increase is expected to be higher than the global average, and that this is one conclusion. In northern parts is expected to be even higher than the southern parts because of the glaciers and the permafrost. The global warming will affect our region, northern region, more than the southern regions. And the hot days, the hot nights expected to increase significantly. Pakistan's rainfall projections, do not indicate any significant changing trends, but still the snow melt situation is the most serious one. Major crop yields such as wheat, rice are expected to decrease significantly. Water availability per capita is projected to decrease to a very serious situation. Already we are water stressed. An increasing trend in rainfall over upper Indus Basin and decreasing trend in lower basin. These are the trends. Next, please, Mavish. Okay, that is the situation of the climate change impacts, likely impacts on trends in Pakistan. What are the impacts? As our colleague, UNICEF colleague mentioned, there are key impacts on food availability, access to food, affordability, and everything. In this first column, we see the food shortages and food inflation will be one major impact of the climate change, and its indirect impact on children will be a decrease in breastfeeding practices, among many things. And these are the key ones, these most strategic ones that will affect the children. And this will be a scenario, and poor sanitation will be one scenario. Increase in food insecurity of the poor will be a major problem. Malnutrition will be a serious issue, which is linked with stunting. Waterborne diseases will be a major problem, which is again linked with anemia in pregnant and lactating women. Increase in poverty, vulnerability, and inequality will be major issues leading to infant mortality. As colleagues will know, infant mortality risk is 9 times more for malnourished children. Next, please. Flooding, impact of flooding on children, again, death and injuries, child labor, abuse, trafficking will increase. Research shows loss of crops, property, and assets will result in increasing in food insecurity of the poor, most poor. and degradation of social and economic infrastructure will reduce school attendance and result in dropouts and school class absenteeism. Obviously, it will also lead to trauma, mental health issues, and vaccinations will be missed, cycles will be missed. Water quality issues will lead to more infant mortality. And the impact of air pollution on children, essentially this will result in generally in respiratory illnesses leading to fetal and neonatal mortalities, and maternal and fetal distresses will result in abortions, premature births, low birth weights, and the dehydration will obviously lead to health issues, including kidney failures, and increased vulnerability to infections will result in illnesses and mother and child mortality. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. This was a short presentation, and once again, thank you very much, Badr and colleagues.
Thank you so much, Hunzai Sahab. It was really an eye-opener, especially the figures and the estimates that the projections that you shared. It really tells us where we will stand in coming years. There are a few things, and maybe we can discuss it at the end. Also, I think the participants will be having questions. One, you mentioned about the reduction in productivity. So definitely there's a contribution of the climate. This is an important factor that affects the productivity. But what are the other factors? And I will be later on requesting Dr. Hamid Jalil Saab as well, because currently he is working on some innovative ideas. So what can be the ways out to increase the productivity, including the creating the resilience for this climate change, because there are very few products in which we are doing good. We are either matching the global average, or we are just above the global average. But being agriculture country, and most of the food products, agriculture products, we are far below the global average. So what are the reasons? Because productivity, food productivity has a very direct link with food security, and then with nutrition, and ultimately with child health and nutrition. So we'll be discussing more at the end. Thank you so much for your presentation. Now I'll be requesting Dr. Hamid Saab. Before I request him to share his views, especially in respect to the government initiatives and policy and planning perspective for ECD and impact of climate on ECD. Let me briefly share his profile. Dr. Hamid Saab, he is currently working, most of you know him as a member of Food Security and Nutrition Planning Commission, Government of Pakistan. He is also co-chair of the high-level National Nutrition Forum, as well as Early Childhood Development Steering Committee. He is the SUN ExCom member for the South and Central Asia region. He is chairing technical working group of ECD as well. Before joining the current role, he was working with Government of Canada in agriculture. Dr. Hamid Saab has more than 25 years of experience in promoting food security and agricultural value chain, private sector engagement in Pakistan, Sudan, and Canada. He has worked with national, international, public and private sector organizations such as Government of Pakistan, Government of Sudan, International Center for Agriculture Research in Dry Areas, ICARDA, IFAD, European Commission, USAID, and Government of Canada. He has diversified academic background, having combination of studies in agriculture, food safety, and business management, DBM, MPhil in nutrition, PhD in microbiology, as well as various professional trainings from Harvard Business School and other prestigious institutions across the globe. While much of Dr. Hamid's professional work is within Pakistan, Canada, and Sudan, he has carried out more than 72 technical and trade missions to 21 countries in order to promote trade through international markets, access, linkages, and branding Pakistan as a halal hub. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, learned colleagues and participants. Very impressive presentations by Brother Anthony and especially on Zaisab. His presentation was focused mainly on Pakistan and factors and the situation analysis and future vision of the situation. So learned from both of these presentations. I just want to share my few thoughts with you. It's my habit. I don't use the presentation PPTs and written type of speeches. So sorry for if it is inconvenient to you. ECD, I think is now everyone here, participants of this webinar, well aware of the canvas of ECD. As the doctors and the professionals say, it starts from the, from the girl before marriage. Basically, it starts from the ovarian health and ovarian maturity. So factors contributing towards the female health are the basic causes of ECD contributing or otherwise. So it starts from that scenario. So I divide ECD in two phases. One is the before health, before birth of a child, and after the birth of child. So before birth of child, it's a gestation period, 9 months gestation period. And before that is the health of the female, which contributes towards the next 9 months and then after the birth as well. So this phase, so basically this phase, the important main target factor is the female. If we ignore the health and nutrition of female and the environment of female, definitely the health, later on, the health of the child, that would be affected by these factors. So after the birth of a child, then when it's come into the world, then the environmental factor starts together with, again, the major factor of child mother, because child mother has to nourish next 2 years through breastfeeding, and also the other factors. They also the factors which affect the mind and health and social environment of the mother, that would contribute again towards the child. So that is the second phase of the ECD. Then third phase start after the 1,000 days. Then the main factors are the environment and the nutrition. When I say the environment, it means all factors contributing towards the health, the nutrition, the living, then the social, then the environment means air. So all the essential nutrients required for the normal health and development of a child, that covers the environmental factors. So there are again minor and major, and macro are the minor and the major factors of environment. As mentioned by Hunzai Saab, Pakistan is now, if I focus on the Pakistan and Pakistani perspective, Pakistan is among the, I think, 146 in ranking, which are the contributors of climate change. So our ranking towards the contribution in greenhouse emissions and climate change is, we are, I think, at the end of the list. But when I see the effectees, so Pakistan is among the first 8 members countries which are most affected by the climate change. So this belt, Himalayan belt, including the Nepal and that northern part of the China, then our northern areas, they are the most affected areas, and then whole of the Pakistan. So this is the situation of environment and climate. So when I say climate, definitely the first thing is the water. Water, that is most important, because water is of our lifeline for our agriculture as well as for drinking water. And mainly Pakistan's water is dependent, water sources, we are more dependent on the single river, as mentioned by Onzai Saab. Our whole agriculture system is based on that irrigation system emerging from the Indus basin, Indus river. Then definitely the second source of water is the raining water, but that is again affected by the climate mostly. And then third is the fossil water in different areas, which is again I think endangered, and especially the areas like the Balochistan, Quetta, and the other major cities of Pakistan, which are provide in the major cities which are dependent only on the fossil water, not having the riverine water or the other catchment waters for the human population. Then after water is the second factor which contributes on the health is the air. So in air, if we analyze the climate factors and especially the greenhouse emissions in Pakistan, the data and studies shows by the World Bank in 2019-20 that overall by almost 44% of the total contribution of greenhouse emissions are coming from the energy sector. That is the our transport, then our industry, mainly from the oil and gas and the energy uses by the transport sector and the industry sector. So that is the 44%. So that is the main factor which is basically polluting the environment. And recently you have seen in major cities the effect of pollution in terms of smog. This is a phenomena for the last few years, which we have seen in major cities, starting from the Peking, Shanghai, and Delhi, and then Lahore and Karachi and all other major cities. So that is mainly due to this environmental pollution. Then the major contributor towards the health and development is definitely the nutrition. When I say nutrition, it's again the balanced nutrition, essential nutrients which are required for normal maintenance, growth, development, production, and reproduction of the human being. So under that, there are two sources. That is, the one is the plant source, the other is the animal source. And both these plant and animal sources of nutrition again are affected by the climate. Since last, I think, 1 decade, Pakistan is greatly impacted and affected by this climate change. Our agriculture productivity is decreasing, and this cropping pattern is changed due to change in temperature. But problem is that we are not ready to mitigate that, because in agriculture, the basic start from the seed, the genetics, and change in genetics is not a quick, story or quick thing that you can immediately change that. So it takes time to develop the climate resistance and resilient genetics of seeds for different crops. So in that perspective, you need to have a strong research system. Unfortunately, for last 2 decades, Pakistan agriculture research is again one of the weakest areas of Pakistan's economy and development. So that is one factor which is affecting our agriculture productivity. We are not able to immediately respond and develop and respond in terms of providing and developing the resilient and climate smart seed genetics. Second thing, with the climate, the pattern of diseases is changing in animals as well as in plants. The life cycle of the pests is changing. That is again affecting on our productivity. In addition to that, the third factor which our agriculture is facing is the sustainability of the water resources, either through the floods or droughts. The fluctuation in water availability is affecting our agricultural productivity. And then again, another factor, which is a bigger factor for the food safety management, is the use of the chemicals, fertilizers, chemicals for pesticides, fungicides, and all that type of things. That is, impacting the food safety part of our nutrients. So all these factors contributing towards the growth of the child in early age. So this is the situation which I just broadly I'm mentioning here, the Pakistan is facing. So now, what's the responsibility and what's the countermeasures at the government level and international level? Definitely, all of you, that Pakistan is a signatory of the Paris Club since 2015. And we are very active. Pakistan is very active member of the global community to combat the climate changes and the impacts of climate change. Response to that, Pakistan has adopted various measures at policy levels. Climate recently changed regime of government of Pakistan, the previous government. Their top agenda was climate and nutrition, malnutrition. So under that political agenda, they have started plantation campaign, and the Sulami is this 10 billion Sulami tree project is one of the famous project, globally recognized project approved by the Planning Commission of Pakistan. The main factor, the main purpose of that project was to positively contribute towards the challenging and combating the greenhouse emissions from different factors. So that project, but the impact of that project is not so wide or so you can say decisive in combating this environmental and climatic situation, because it's only the 6%. The role of the plantation is almost only 6% towards the whole pie of the climate, this greenhouse emissions factors. So the other major area which is related to that, as I already have mentioned, is the energy sector. Unless we work and we policy level, political level, and development level, we focus on the shift from the currently fossil-based fuel, and so as a major source of energy, our transportations, vehicles, as well as our industry and other uses towards the green energy resources. So we will not be able to combat this impact of climate. So the next major focus area to work on is the energy sector. So Pakistan is planning on that. Different policy strategies are being developed in Planning Commission and with the support of the donors and development agencies. And the third area, which is mainly the main contributors of this greenhouse emission, is the agriculture sector. Agriculture sector itself is a major contributor, and also the a major effectee of the climate change. It's contributor as well as the effectee. So its role is important in both sides. So in that perspective, our agriculture production system, since the industrial revolution after the Second World War, especially, and the whole agriculture in the world has been shifted towards the what is called as the industrial agriculture production system, because the population increased manifold and very quickly, very fastly, and the world has to feed this growing population. So they adapted the techniques and strategies through the mainly for the productivity enhancement of agriculture. So they worked on the genetics, seed genetics, as well as the animal genetics to enhance the productivity in manifold through the provision of inputs. So our agriculture production currently is basically it's not dependent mainly on the seed genetics plus the soil health, but the major factor which is providing us the increase or enhanced food is the input supplies through the fertilizers. So the heavy use of fertilizers with different pH level, chemicals level, has one side provided us enhanced food, enhanced production of agriculture, but in the same time it has destroyed our soil, the natural soil biota, which is essentially required for the natural nutritional support or nutritional supply for the nature-based agriculture production. So that factor has destroyed the whole agriculture system of the whole world. So now the Pakistan, Alhamdulillah, is pioneer in developing a special nature-based agriculture production system, which is called regenerative agriculture system. And main philosophy of that agriculture production system is to provide a sustainable solution, nature-based solution, and anti-climate, or I can say the climate smart solution for the agriculture production system. The main salient feature of this agriculture production system are that we are not going to promote anymore the tilling and plowing of this soil, because when you plow with deep this plowing equipment, tractors, the tilling has two effects. One, you expose the soil, and the soil has two types of soil biota. The first 6 inch of the soil contains the aerobic bacteria, which grows in the presence of oxygen. And the down to that next second phase is deep, is the anaerobic bacteria and fungi and other microbes, which are basically main contributors in terms of degrading the organic matter and inorganic matter. So they make available the nutrients, soil nutrients for the seed, for the plant. all these soil biota requires the optimum conditions of optimum temperature, optimum moisture, then optimum pH level. So due to use and indiscriminate use of fertilizers and chemicals, the pH is changed, soil pH is changed in such a way that this we have destroyed and we have killed all soil biota. Then our system of watering, the flood irrigation system, against minimizes the soil biota. It's not conducive for the proper growth of soil biota. Then exposure of air, exposure to air with this flowing system again destroys the soil biota. The second impact of this tilling is the evaporation of all moisture conserved inside the soil. So that is major, and it contributes towards the emissions. Also, it evaporates the most of the carbon dioxide in the universe, in the atmosphere, that is conserved inside the soil. We expose it to the atmosphere. So these are the two major factors in greenhouse emissions. That's why the agriculture in Pakistan and overall in the world is contributing almost 42% towards the greenhouse emissions, this agriculture production system. So that is a major cause after the energy factor. So what we are going to introduce or promote is the no-tilling agriculture system, number one. Number two is the raised bed intervention. And number three, the organic mulching, covering the raised bed and soil with organic mulch, so that the soil temperature can be reduced, as well as the moisture evaporation can be reduced, as well as the soil biota can have the organic matter for degradation and converting into the organic and carbon compounds. So this, and third, fourthly, precision planting. Currently in our agriculture, especially in Pakistan, world is already, I think, more on the precision. But in Pakistan, for example, our major crop is wheat crop. And out of total 55 million acres of land, agriculture land, 22 million acres of land is under the wheat crop. It's almost 41% of the total agriculture land. And our sowing is through the broadcasting system. 85 to 90% sowing is through broadcasting. So when we use the seed in broadcasting system, it gives almost so 50 kg per acre. We use the seed under this broadcasting system. But when we convert it into the precision planting, we require only 7 to 8 kg against the 50 kg. So that's what we are going to promote, the precision planting. And the last point of this regenerative agriculture production system is that we are going to discourage the use of fertilizers, because our main focus is to revive the soil biota. That's why it's called regenerative agriculture production system. So once we are focusing on the revival of the soil biota, so gradually it takes 1 to 2 years. Once it is fully developed, then you don't need any additional and synthetic fertilizers, because the soil biota itself is able to degrade and the organic and inorganic material and make available for the plant roots. So that is the revolutionary system. Under this whole production system, the cost of production is reduced 3 times. For example, in wheat, currently 1700 rupees per 40 kg is the cost of production of wheat. When we shift it and transform it to the regenerative production system, the cost of production is 600 rupees. Together with the no use of chemicals, fertilizers, less 3 times, half of the reduction in water supply, 3 times reduction in the seed, and the no inputs like fertilizer and all that. So in this way, the food is more safe, it's less cost of production, it's more competitive, and the productivity is enhanced, and it's a sustainable system. So that is basically the major, I think, solution for this climate change, and also to handle this situation of food security and malnutrition and all these factors. Once we shift it and we the whole system, it will take 5 to 10 years to convert the whole and transform the whole system. Once we achieve that, definitely, then I think that would be the more sustainable solution that will resolve our issues of malnutrition, food security issues, the competitiveness, even we will be able to export more the surplus produce to the world, because we will be more competitive to the world. So this is one of the major interventions from the government, which we are promoting through the private sector and with the development partners. This is one of the major area. The other area which government is focusing on, although it's a provincial, but the federal level government is focusing and promoting the wash areas, the provision of clean water and sanitation at school levels and rural areas. So that is because ECD, again, like the other nutritional factors and the climate factor, it's a multi-sectoral. So we cannot achieve it with single interventions. So we have to provide a package of the solutions through different interventions. So government is also focusing on that area. Then there's the, I think, if I summarize all these things, so the most important factor and the element and the interventions that we should focus on is the awareness, thought management. Unless we focus the awareness part of our whole strategic interventions, we cannot achieve anything. We have to create awareness at household level. We have to create awareness for the importance of female before and after the marriage. That how much is important to provide a conducive environment and nutrition and social environment to that female which is going to give a birth of a child. So that that is the start of the whole solution for ECD. So awareness is very important. Similarly, awareness at the policy level, awareness at the opinion makers level, awareness at the different agencies level, awareness in the different social fabrics, our societies, our norms, our practices, social practices. So at all levels, we need an awareness campaign so that we can achieve our target. Then lastly, we are also focusing at macro level. I have mentioned that we are focusing on the regenerative agriculture production systems and transforming the main sources of the food, animal and plant region. But together with that, we are also focusing on the micro level and household level models as well, like the kitchen gardening, like we are going to promote in major cities as a part of the master plans, that there should be a food security zones and a vertical agriculture productivity system in the cities. Also, we are going to promote the rooftop vegetation and vegetables and vegetation, so that we can counter at the household level. We can be able to provide more oxygen and reduce the environmental pollution to combat the carbon compounds, different type of impacts at household level. And macro level, the projects like the agriculture transformation, the tsunami tree, the wash, and all these factors. But I think we should have a compact solution, package of solutions, starting from the household to the whole country and the region and the global level. So this is my concept of dealing with this issue of ECD. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I am happy to respond to that.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you so much, sir, for very comprehensively linking the cause and effect and telling us about the policy regime, existing policy regime, and very interesting agriculture transforming agenda that you mentioned, especially about the regenerative agriculture. So this was very important for all of us to know that you are working along with your team on the agriculture transforming agenda, which is going to be a revolutionary initiative in Pakistan in terms of availability of safe food and production. Now I'll be requesting Ms. Khadija to take the question and conclude the session. What do you, ma'am?
Thank you so much, Badr. Thank you, worthy panelists. We have received some questions. I had seen a question from Salima, but why was that removed? She was basically asking what are the guidelines to reduce the direct and indirect impact of climate change. I think Dr. Hamid Jalil has already talked about some of the policy guidelines and measures to be taken. So I will request again Dr. Hamid Jalil and other panelists to share if you want to add more, guidelines for reducing the direct and indirect impact of climate change on early childhood development. So over to you, Dr. Hamid Sab.
Thank you very much for your question. I think already I have mentioned two things, but as policy level, we are working with the international, the last climate conference in Britain last year, I think, a few months ago, I think. So we also signed different agreements globally, especially focusing on the this energy use and green energy use. And one of the interventions which we have suggested to the government that we may establish special organic zones in different areas where we should ban by law the use of chemicals. The areas so far identified are the Balochistan, southern Balochistan, coastal belt districts. Then is the DA Khan we have suggested in KP. We have suggested some areas of rice production areas in Punjab. And interestingly, it may be a news for Hunzai Saab that we have suggested a 2030 vision for GB. And for 2030 GB vision for GB, we are going to propose GB as a clean and green piece of land on the earth. And we are planning that how we can make GB completely clean and green in next 20 years, and not 30, 40, vision 40, 2040. In 20 years, where the whole GB would be the organic production zone, number one. Whole GB will be on the green energy source. Number three, the whole GB, no vehicle would be allowed to enter into GB without the having the green energy system. So this type of long-term plans we are making at mega level, at macro level, so that we can develop at least one part of Pakistan, which is very easy to develop that, which can be the tourist destiny for whole world. And that we are focusing that we may be able to develop that world tourist spot through the green and clean. Similarly, at household level, as I mentioned, that we are going to promote different models. One of the model we are working is through the IFAD in Bakkar, Miawali, and Pushab districts. There are 80 villages where we have developed a model for provision of a comprehensive nutrition package as household level, also combating the climate impact at that village level. So these are different models we are working on. So definitely with the support of NGOs and partners and different innovative solution providers, we will collectively can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for your detailed answer and also for the good news. Since we are from GB, we always, look up to the national government, federal government to give us this kind of good news. Otherwise, the kind of tourist flow is in GB, you know how it's going to impact the environment there. So thank you very much. I think Izhar Saab is also going to add. You want to share your thoughts on the?
Yeah, I strongly support Dr. Saab's ideas. And Gilgit-Baltistan, as you mentioned, sir, is ideally located in terms of its remoteness. One blessings of this remoteness is that because of the high cost of fertilizers and chemical inputs, most of our villages are still not contaminated by the chemicals that provides an opportunity to build on that baseline and introduce this novel idea of regenerative agriculture. But I would request that this is very much linked with the governance system, as you mentioned, sir. That awareness plays a key part, and we were thinking in our Gilgit-Baltistan at the policy level with the government, within the government, that these things are linked with local government system, and in order to implement all these ideas, it is very important to deconcentrate the government, decentralize the system of government. If we take the idea of village government down to that level, then we can do a better job of village planning, land use planning, water management, agro-tourism, and as you mentioned, sir, there is a good deal of awareness already in Gilgit-Baltistan, so that can be utilized to directly translate these ideas, scientific ideas, to combat the climate change in remote areas. And Gilgit-Baltistan can be an ideal place to demonstrate a model where one can implement this whole idea of thinking globally and acting locally. So grateful, and professionally, I'm now working with the government of Gilgit-Baltistan, and hopefully with the change of government and everything, we will still be welcomed in the federal ministries to promote these ideas and to work together as partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Anthony, you want to add your thoughts, share your thoughts on the guidelines for addressing direct and indirect impact of the climate change, or should I move forward?
Khadija, thanks. I'm not a climate change expert. I might not provide the right response, have to be honest on that. But happy that climate change is discussed in detail, particularly taking into consideration its impact on the broader development, including early childhood development, as well as its impact on economic development as well. So any interventions that can, I might not be specific on the direct and the guidelines on how we can address, but if we see the way, the different pathways, the way it is affecting the nurturing gates that I mentioned at the beginning, one of the options is, or one of the mechanisms is it affects some of the staple crops to lose their nutritious, their nutrient content, either macro or micronutrient content. So there is also another question, what can be done differently, like related to smart agriculture, expert opinion or smart agriculture. So that is where I think we can do. One of the opportunities, strategy could be adopting a smart, climate smart agriculture, which looks into locally resilient seeds or crops that can resist any climate change and able to maintain the nutrient content, besides to enabling the food security aspect. So to impact, one is maintaining the food security. The second is also maintaining the nutrition security. So biofortification is another option, which is finding a seed which is resistant to climate change. Finding locally appropriate seeds that can resist to climate change is another thing. But broadly taking into consideration, broader strategy will be required. But unfortunately, I'm not a climate change expert, might not provide the right answer to that question. But link it to the climate, smart climate change, smart agriculture, maybe one of the low-hanging fruit. We can go ahead and learn even from other countries or scale up from some of the provinces who are already scaling up. The previous comment made by Dr. Hamid and the SAP is very right, particularly raising awareness, not only at household level, at opinion, but at expert levels. We need to keep learning, generate evidence, and applying those evidences in our routine day-to-day programming, implementation, and the design of any of the programs that we are taking into consideration is, I think it's important that awareness part is very key. From the discussion, I see climate change and early childhood as two sides of a coin. Climate change affecting the early childhood development directly, indirectly, and in the long-term consequence, the impact of poor early childhood development, again, bringing the climate change issues back. So from that angle, I think it's the right time to take into consideration those recommendations provided by the two experts, and particularly take the climate smart agriculture issue a bit further. Maybe I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your detailed answer. Though you are saying that you are not an expert, but your answer doesn't really show that you are not an expert. You are an expert, and thank you very much for your insights, and these are really helpful. We have received a number of questions. There is a comment from Dr. Naeem Zafar and also a question. Dr. Naeem Zafar is saying that these are mostly the top-down approaches. Can you also enlighten us in sharing some bottom-up approaches in terms of awareness raising and action plans by civil society, especially as I am a healthcare provider? How can we, the healthcare providers, help reduce climate change impact on the child development? I think I cannot see the whole question. So over to the panelists, please. Bottom-up approaches for awareness to address this issue.
Khadija, maybe I will start with that one and then leave for the other panelists. The bottom-up awareness raising, I think it is very effective, particularly taking into consideration the Pakistan context into consideration. when we say bottom-up awareness raising is basically community engagement, engaging the communities, engaging influential within the communities. In a society like Pakistan, communities, they are very trust and listen to opinions from religious leaders, local influential leaders as well. So engagement of these key community assets, I think, I'm not sure if that's the right word, which are very respected, even more respected than the expert itself, I think it is key in terms of engaging them. So in the design of the different messages, in piloting of those messages at community level, how it is interpreted, could be interpreted. Again, particularly in the implementation of those messages and engagement of this community level leaders, community leaders plus religious leaders, I think it is very key. Plus, when we develop the tools that we use for awareness raising, engagement of communities also, I think. So with the bottom up, I think it goes to one of the recommendations, localizing the evidence generation. So when we generate evidence to local context, and if that evidence is used to design, inform the design and implementation of the different tools that we will be using for awareness raising, I think that is the small comment I would like to provide in terms of the bottom-up awareness raising aspect overall for ECD plus for climate change as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Do you want to share your thoughts, Izhar Sahab and Dr. Hamid Jalil sir?
That's a very relevant question that Dr. Saab has asked. My background is community development, and I feel that we really need to integrate community development with local government. Community development is a good idea to create awareness and to transfer knowledge and technology and empower local communities, but it lacks ownership, it lacks permanency, it lacks legitimacy. So, and there are some very good examples, some initiatives, good initiatives in KPK, Punjab. Now local government is being redesigned, and the concept of village government is being promoted. I think it's time to really integrate community development with local government, and decentralized ways of managing our resources, decentralized methods of governing, because each village, each valley, each region has its own peculiar needs. As our colleague, UNICEF colleague said, that we need to really focus on what is relevant to the local context and develop those resources, develop those capacities. So I would argue that, and the technology now makes it possible. We don't have to really physically go to a village. We can reach out to a village, a remote village, through internet, through real-time communication methods. So that would be the best thing to really, transfer knowledge, transfer technology, transfer resources, empower local governments, local autonomous villages, valleys, small cities, smart cities, towns. That is if we are going to really look into the future and see how we can manage this complexity and growing complexity, then local government seems to be the answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Hamid Jalil, you want to add your thoughts on this, or should I move forward?
I think no need to add anything after Mr. Unzais, because he's a man of community organization and nobody knows better than him how to organize and work and the governance system at the communities level. I am a strong advocate of this system, because once we see, we all talk about the global village, that world is a globalization, but ultimately I think world has to realize and come back to the village and the community level for real terms of prosperity and well-being and proper nutrition and nourishment, unless we take the approach of communities level. And I am strong advocate of in Pakistan development through the one village own prosperity, or one region own prosperity, one region own economy. So I am advocate of that type of governance system where the communities are empowered enough to develop their own economies based on their available natural resources at their region level, community level, district level, or village level. So all these, I think, if we have been able to provide the and empower the communities at village level through some legislative and the actual governance system in place, then I think we will be much easier. It would be much easier to develop a prosperous and nutritious society than we are living right now in this environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. We have received, I will take just a couple of questions because we are running short of time. So Mukesh from Arts Foundation, he says, as we know about green banking concept, I would like to ask about any policy or rule in Pakistan where too much use of fertilizer is affecting soil texture, with any other mandatory action or service provided to restore soil texture? I think this question is for Dr. Hamid Saab.
I think it's a scientific question. Definitely these why we use these synthetic fertilizers and all those inputs for productivity enhancement. I just gave you the example of Amazon forest. Please study the Amazons. The Amazon forest, billions of years, from billions of years, no man, no mechanization, and no person in the world has provided there any fertilizers or pesticides or any inputs. But those forests are flourishing naturally without any intervention, man-made interventions. So why this happened? If you study that, you will see that the same regenerative production system which I have mentioned, this is basically this system is based on the principles that how this Amazon forest is growing. The ecosystem mutually lives together without the man-made interventions. So this is what I think we have to come back to nature-based solutions for a sustainable, safe, and most productive and prosperous system where we can get all the, and we can ensure the food safety and security system with the availability, affordability, accessibility, safety, and continuous and sustainable supply of our food ingredients at our local household level, village level. This is the only solution, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saab. We have received many questions, but I'm going to take just a couple of them. So, Saidul Hassan, I was saying my question is about communicating this information to a layman who has no idea about this critical nexus between climate change, food systems, and early childhood. How can we simplify things for local people to relate to?
I think the solution is the community level working. This is the whole governance system must be devolved. Like they devolved under the 18th Constitution, they devolved to provinces, most of the 30s. But this process now be continued towards the local level. The provinces should devolve the whole authority to the down to the village level with the strong governance system supported and protected by the law. And unless we do that, we can't achieve all these things. And secondly, the communities level, we must we have to focus the local agents or the local people who can matters. For example, in previous, I know I heard the stories from my ancestors, from my elders, that the role of a dai in villages, that the lady health worker was much more stronger and much more having a opinion maker and a respectable role than nowadays. So, and I think we have to restore that system, the local wisdom, the local population, the local mosque, imam, masjid, the local teacher, the local lady worker, the local service providers. They should be our focus areas to as a change agent to contribute towards our achieving targets of this malnutrition and prosperity and everything. I think we should again focus those people who were previously very effective, but with the this revolution of communication revolutions, we ignored those people or those influential factors. So we have to go back to communities level. I'm strong supportive of this AKRSP, NRSP, this type of networks. But I am also critic of those because they have become a stagnant and static,
You're right,
and
sir.
they should, their role should be now diversified towards more social and economic and development sectors rather than the old system of only making CEOs. So I am optimistic to engage those into this new development.
Thank you so much for your detailed answer. We have received a number of very important questions, but I'm sorry I cannot take all of them. And also we have received comments in the chat box. I will request Mavish to take a record of it, and we will pose these questions to our worthy panelists later on through our Facebook page. And the recording of this webinar will be uploaded on our, rather it's already there on our Facebook, and we will also share the presentations on our website. I think Sun Secretariat also uploads the presentations on the website. So Badr, I think we are not going to take more questions because we are running short of time.
Yes, I think also because it's prayer time and number of
I
participants,
just
they all-
want to give a couple of minutes to our board of director, Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Tahir Saab, who is the former educational advisor at the Ministry of Federal Education and Professional Training, to thank the worthy panelists and all the participants for their enthusiasm and for taking an active participation in this very important discussion. So over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Khatija. It was excellent webinar. You see the very thought-provoking and very informative presentation made by the panelists. Excellent facts and figure and very eye-opener things. At least myself have learned, and I hopefully all other participants have learned from all these presentations. And it was a very timely initiative, which is done by the Planning Commission and PAFIC on the very important topic. So I would like to thank all the honorable panelists for their excellent contribution in this webinar. Mr. Anthony Girma, Janab Izhar Hunzai Saab and Dr. Hamid Saab. Thank you so much for enlightening all the participants on this very important issue. And I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to all the participants of the webinar who have very active participation during this whole, everybody was very active. They're putting questions, comments, everything. So I hope this will, this exercise will be continued in future also. And more webinar will be come out on this issue, inshallah. So thank you so much, honorable panelists and all the participants of the webinar.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your nice comments and vote of thanks. Badar, I think we should conclude it.
Sorry, sorry, you already, Tahir Saab concluded, so I shouldn't talk more. Just to mention that we had more than 80 participants from different provinces and actors and sectors. So it was a very well participated seminar. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Ji, or ye proceeding, we will document the proceeding and share them widely with all the participants as well as on other platforms.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And
Thanks,
thank you very
Dr.
much, Badar, for your great facilitation indeed.
To all of you.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.